Okay, so for this journal, I did not need to do the chain stitch because I could run my sewing machine down the side of the spine. But if you don't have a sewing machine or if you don't sew, I'm going to show you how I do my chain stitch. And there are lots of videos out there with showing how to do a chain stitch. I actually found, and I'll link her channel and I'll link the video down below. Her name is Melanie Sullivan. She has a YouTube channel. I haven't seen her on YouTube for a couple years. She's got a great channel. Missy Melanie. I actually watched her video and she used a canvas pad for the spine, which is, I don't really know a lot about canvas pad. I've never worked with it or even seen it, but it looked like it was really like you couldn't rip it even if you tried. And she painted on it too. This is how I do it. And this is just a recycled box. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is turn it in to a junk journal. And I'll probably do that on camera too, because why not? I don't want to like waste this. So I just use some wallpaper, but we're going to pretend it's whatever you have. If you want to layer some wallpaper, if you want to use the canvas paper like I do, you could use a paper bag. So this part I already did just to save some time because you're going to have to glue it. So what I do, and I'll show you a book here. So this, I meant to get this out for Easter and it just never happened. I guess I could still put this in my shop, but when you're making the spine, you just want to be aware of, just like you would make a hard back spine, where you want this to be on here, you know, if you don't want it to cover up certain things. So I'm not one that measures. I really don't measure, but I'd say a half an inch. I usually come out a half an inch with the spine on either side, you know, and then you're just going to want to equivalate that half an inch into your paper. If you're looking for a certain, you know, length of a spine, if you're looking for a 3-inch spine or 2-inch, you know, you just want to make sure that you equivalate that into it. So usually I go a half inch, maybe a little bit longer or a little bit deeper into the book. Okay, so we're going to pretend that this is the journal. And what I did is, this is the spine. And we are going to attach this side. So what I use is a crocodile. You could probably use just a standard punch, but the thing is with that is if you're going to go through chipboard, like something like this, you need a crocodile. And also the size of the hole is important too, because if you have a really big hole, I don't know, I can't speak from that because I've just always used this size hole on my crocodile, the bigger hole, this one right here. Okay, I've always used this size of the hole. I think it's the 3/16 because then on this side is the 1/8. So I guess I'm not into math. So yeah, I use this side, and what I do is I just take this little lever down to a half an inch. Okay, so you can, if you want to, you can measure these holes out. You can get a ruler. You can be precise. I just eyeball it. So the holes don't necessarily need to line up on either side. I don't think that that's important. Like in here, I covered the stitch with fabric. So if you don't like the look inside here of it, and I'll show, when we're done, I'll show you what it looks like, then you can always cover it with scrapbook paper or fabric. I like the look of it out here, and you know, you can't even tell where the holes are after you stitch it. So it's sometimes, if I've done it before where I've punched the holes unevenly, it kind of like adds a different look to it. So here I punched 5 holes. Like I said, I don't really measure. My biggest thing is that you don't want to punch the hole way up here at the top, at the edge. Okay, you want to leave some space. If you wanted to match this, you could just, before you A lot of times before I attach the spine, I'll punch holes here. I'll line this up, draw a little dot, and then match it so they somewhat match. But like I said, you're not going to be able to tell, like you can't even tell here if the holes, you can't even see the holes for one after you sew it. So that's not like really a big deal. And like I said, this is a junk journal, and I'm just, imperfections are a-okay with me just in general. I've kind of like learned to let that go. I do measure at some point here. So I am just going to eyeball it. I'm going to do about 5 holes, and I'm going to go in down like I'd say a ½ inch here. And I have my, it's set for a ½ inch because you don't want the hole real close to the edge here either. You want it in, and you can go even farther too. I just find that a ½ inch works perfect. So one, I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so I did 5 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 5 here. So this part's important. So when you go to attach this to the spine, because you're not going to punch holes through this, you're just punching holes through this. So this is your spine, this is your book or your, your base. This part is important. You do want, and this is when I do use a ruler, but you do want this to be even down here or somewhat even, and you want it to measure, I think I went a little over a ½ inch. So a lot of times, I'll measure that, and so you do want that lined up. You just want to make sure that this side measures up to this side and that it's even. Although I will say that when you have a flexible spine like that, it's nice because it gives you a little leeway. So once again, you want to make sure that you're equivalating this measurement in with your spine, and also that you're watching, where you're putting it on the book and all of that. And then you're going to want to make sure that after you measure and place it down, that you glue this down and let it dry. That's like the main thing, because if you don't let it dry, then when you try to go sew your chain stitch in, it's wonky and it moves, and then stuff does get sort of uneven. So I love turbo tacky glue, whatever kind of glue you have, glue it down. Sometimes I'll put clips. If I'm not in a rush, I'll let it dry overnight. You don't need to let it dry overnight. A couple hours, an hour is probably good. This part is dry, so I'm going to show you how I do the chain stitch. And what I do is I take thread, and I usually do, I'd say like 3 lengths of the book. Okay, a little over 3. And that usually gives me, hopefully I did this right. I think that's usually what I do. And that usually gives me plenty of length. I start from the inside of the book. So we're going to say that this is the inside of your journal. And what you want to do is you want to, and this is just, this isn't a very sharp needle. Sometimes you might have to use something with a little bit more of a pointer, depending on the thickness of your spine. So sometimes I kind of play around with a couple different needles. But what you want to do is you want to start at the very top of the hole, and you want to punch through. Okay, so at the top. All right, and you're just going to pull that through, and then leave a little bit of a tail, and I just kind of hold it, and then I go through again. And you're going to pull, and you kind of want to pull down and up, and you'll feel it as you work with it. And then I go around another time. So I think I usually go around at least twice, sometimes 3. 2 is good enough. So you're going to, after you've gone through twice, right, get this ruler out of the way. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. You're going to tie it off. You kind of want the knot, or you do want the knot in the hole here a little bit. And then I usually do a square knot. So you go the opposite way. Oops. You do a square knot. So just tying it. Sorry, I'm not doing really good with keeping it in camera. And you just want that knot so it's sort of in the center of that hole. So I'm gonna tie it one more time. All right. And you just kind of work it. So, and then a lot of times what I'll do is I will put a little dab of glue right there, and it's going to tighten up as you work through the other holes. And I'll show you what I do at the end. So wrap it around twice. Okay, now I'm going to rethread my needle here. And you're going to go through the next hole. And like I said, you want to go through the top of the hole. All right. You're going to This is interesting doing it on camera. Okay, and then you're going to flip it over, and this is where you start the chain stitch. And if you know other stitches, other ways to bind books, then this is a great way to use whatever kind of stitch you're comfortable with. Okay, and then you're going to go underneath here, and you're going to pull. I like to pull and pull, and obviously this is like wallpaper here. This isn't the best of a spine. I would use something different, and I'd have it covered in fabric, but I'm just giving you the gist of how I do it. Then you're going to go back through the original hole again, and that is the chain stitch. Okay, so now you're just going to basically work your way all the way down. Okay, flipping it over, weaving it underneath. It really is pretty simple. It's fun. I love the chain stitch. I think that it really gives a lot of support to the journal, to the spine, because you glue it and then you do use the stitch. Okay, and we're just doing that, and I'll show you how I end it at the bottom. And if you want, go check out Melanie's. I'll leave her link down below. She does an excellent tutorial also. You just kind of pull just to tighten it. Back again. Okay. And under. Pulling. Okay, so we're going to go back through this. And we're going to do the same thing that we did over here. So we're just going to tie it off. So I'm going to go back through here. And I'm going to tie it off in the inside like I did up here. And I'm just going to work it around a couple times. Usually twice is good enough. Okay. You just want to be careful with your threads here that you don't split your thread, because then you're not going to get, I might have done that actually. Let's see. Let's go back through. You just want to be careful that you don't go through your other thread, because then you do, if you split it, and when you go to tighten stuff, it doesn't tighten and you're not going to get tightness that you need. Okay. All right. Okay, now I'm just going to tie it off. So I'm going to go under here, and I'm going to make a knot just like that. Okay, and it just helps if you make the knot in the center there. And then I'm just going to go wrap around a couple more times. This is where it's nice to have the needle, so you can just work the thread back through. I hope this is making sense. That's why I don't do a lot of this stuff on camera, because it's not pretty. Okay, and then you're just tightening, pulling that. And it should be nice and tight. And then, like I said, I just add like a dollop of glue. And then usually I will take, let me zoom out a little bit. If you don't like the look of this, obviously this is, a US postal box, so we're probably not going to like the look of this, but you can just cover it with fabric, or cover it with scrapbook paper, and then it bends, and you have that. And then this side is pretty cool. And a lot of times I like to use, pretty rainbow thread. That is your flexible spine. If you don't have chipboard, if you don't want to deal with chipboard, I just prefer this. And then if you didn't cut your spine exactly like even, then you're covering it up with, paper. You're not going to see all this inside. So that is how I do my chain stitch. Stay tuned, because next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add papers to the colored pencil journal. And then I think what I'll do is I will sew the other side, and I'm gonna turn this into a journal. We're gonna make this cute. We're gonna make this pretty. All right. So we have our journal. I have showed you how I attach the spine, and I just took my sewing machine and sewed down on both sides. And then I also showed you how to attach the spine. If you don't have a sewing machine, I showed you how to do that using a chain stitch or any stitch that you're comfortable with. And then we've done the inside. We put wallpaper for the front and the back cover. And then I just sewed around some fabric. I have a little tuck here. Okay, and so I gathered some papers. Because this journal is going to be my personal journal, and I'm just going to use it for like a daily journal or an art journal or a glue book or whatever, I really wanted to just use recycled papers. I went through, I had some paper bags that I had, and I just thought, okay, I'm just going to use, I just cut them up, just a recycled grocery bags. And then what I did was I just went through and I just put some paint down. And I did paint on both sides. And then I went through my other pages, and I'm going to attach some of these together because I am going to elongate them this way. So I'm going to sew down, and I just went through and paper clip some fabric. And this is how I work usually if I'm making a journal for myself, or if I'm making a journal to sell. A lot of times, if it's not theme based, I'll just go through my papers and I'll pull out different pages that I want to put in. And then I will take my ephemera, like my playing cards, envelopes. I'll think about pockets. I don't really put a lot of thought into color and theme unless I'm doing somewhat of a theme journal. I just like eclectic, a mixture. And I just really, for me, the process of just putting everything and anything makes it fun and is sort of my style. And I love to add fabric to the sides. So a lot of times I'll go through my pages and I'll just paper clip where I want certain things. I'll paper clip fabric to the page. Maybe if I'm going to add an envelope, a playing card, just that's how I do it. And then I'll sit down at my sewing machine and I'll sew everything on. Then I usually divide it into signatures. Then I might add more. So that's usually my process. So I have all my papers, and this was, I think I showed you how the colored pencil box had two like containers inside, and those were where the colored pencils were. So I just took those apart and I just made a page out of that. So that's going to go in there. So I'm going to sew everything together, and then I'll show you how it looks when I get all that done. I sewed all the papers, and I added some more trim to the cover here. So I sewed that on and this. And then I went ahead and just sewed all the papers together. So I added fabric to most of the pages. Here I just used some of my lined paper with my watercolor, attached it to some stationery, garden paper, more wallpaper that I was using for a backdrop, paper bag. I just wanted to add a lot of color. And here's just like a recycled bill that I'll cover. A lot of color in here. And that way I can just sit down and plop stuff on, and I don't have to think a lot about what I want to do. More of that backdrop paper. Lots of colors. Just added lots of fabric trims. So that's the first signature, and I ended up having 9 papers in each signature. Here's the second one. And then this is the part of the box that was inside the box with the colored pencils. Made a little flip here. So I didn't put pockets in here. I just really wanted it to be a place where I could glue, paint, and I thought I would just not put pockets in this one. A lot of times I don't per se like a lot of pockets. I did put an envelope in here if I wanted to tuck some stickers in. Just depending on what I use the journal for, whether or not I like to add pockets or tucks. And I can always add pockets and tucks as I go, which that might be what I do. And then this is the back of the crayon box, and I just added a garden page for a flip. And then we're at the last page. I love all these bright colors and then the darker colors. And like I said, I love adding front and back pockets. That way I can put things in that I want to add to the journal. So those are the 2 signatures. I think it's going to fit really nice in there. I'm not going to sew the signatures in on camera. I'm just going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. So I will do that, and then I'll come back and show you the final product. Okay, I'm back. I have completed the journal. I have sewed the 2 signatures in. I didn't even measure. I just poked holes through the signature, put it through the spine. It's all good. Especially when I make them for myself. When I make them and put them in my Etsy shop, I do measure. But when I make them for myself and I'm just kind of winging it, that's the thing with junk journaling. There's no perfection. You know, you just have fun with it. The imperfections are what make them beautiful and one of a kind. So I'm happy with how it turned out. I love all the colors. It's going to be fun to work in. Here's the back. And then inside, I actually did the front page. And I went ahead and put some things in the front pocket and the back pocket. What I did is just took a piece of wallpaper. I cut out a heart, and then I added some flowers. I got these flowers off the ground today while I was out hiking, and I just put them in between some packaging tape. And here's some threads that I was using just today sewing. I just added those, just glued them on. I did write 2024 in April, and here's one of my sticker birds. And then I just added some paper trim. I'll just flip through it. Lots of color. It's going to be a lot of fun to work in. I really want to use it in the morning. I mean, I can use it whenever, but I'd like to start my day with some journaling. And I might go ahead and add some things in beforehand, set up the pages a bit. I did add this envelope just so I could put some stickers or items inside. A lot of fun papers, just recycled papers. So just take whatever you have laying around. Paper bags make great structures for journals. And I added that flip. This is just grocery bags. So I just recycled. Here's my second signature. See? It's wonky. Lots of flips. Lots of space. Oh, I love all the color. So I'll have to keep you updated. I'll do some flip throughs of it. And I put some of my fabric pictures back here. I thought this might be a good journal just to place a picture on. So I tuck those in there. And that's how she turned out. Love all the colors. So I am going to take this. This is what I worked on with you guys to show you how I do my chain stitch. So I am going to turn this into a journal. And I'll probably turn the camera on and take you along with me. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet. I thought about painting, adding some fabric. Thought maybe I'd do like scraps of fabric. Show you how I do that. I don't know. Probably going to just turn the camera on and go with it how I usually do. So I will have an update on that. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed these 2 videos. I hope this inspired you to get out whatever you may have on hand and create your own art journal, glue book, memory keeper, junk journal. And thank you so much for being here. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, do all the things. And I hope you find some time today to get outside in the sun. And I hope you find some time to craft today. All right, I'll see you soon.